Welcome back to my animal education series. Today we are here at the Dallas Zoo, and I do want to mention first off, I am not wearing my mask simply for filming. The Dallas Zoo currently requires all guests to have masks on over the age of 2, but as soon as I turn off the camera, I'm putting it right back on, so I am being safe here. But I'm going to do a standalone video on the African elephants today, which is going to be my first time doing a standalone video in a while, and then my dad and I are going to give you a tour of the zoo since we've never been here before. So let's walk through to the giants of the savannah and get started. The first thing we come up on is Penguin Cove, and here we have some African penguins. And I do really like this enclosure because it has plenty of area for them to swim, and you can even see down in the water that it has different depths for the penguins to swim in. And then we have this nice waterfall slash stream thing, which I think adds a lot to the enclosure, adds some noise so the penguins don't hear it guess as much. And it also has plenty of area for them to walk around. It kind of looks like a little jungle outcropping in Africa with all the rocks and the trees and everything. I just think that looks super cool. So I got tired of taking on and off my mask after every cut, so I'm just going to leave it like this, like a cool little necklace or something. But behind us here, this is the next enclosure. We have the cheetah, which I really like this enclosure. It has tons of enrichment, rocks, logs, things like that. And then, like the Memphis Zoo, which my dad and I are also a big fan of, is the use of water features in a lot of these enclosures. That's something that my dad and I really like to see because it just adds another element to the enclosure that was well thought out how they're gonna kind of run that through the enclosure. So let's keep on going and see what the next animal awaits us. Now we're here at the Highland Hippo Hut, and carrying on so far is our use of awesome water features. Again, really big fan of those, and it also helps add water movement into it so they don't have stagnant water here for the hippos. We got a hippo over there, which just had his head popped up, but not anymore. And you're gonna see all of the enrichment and all the how elaborate this enclosure is. We have a little mangrove there. We got some logs over there. We got cliff face. We have all these plants and rocks around the entire enclosure. I just think it looks super cool. And then if you let's look at this one building alone and the path that we're walking on, it just all kind of blends together so you feel like you're on a little African safari. Let's kind of look around this hut and then move on. In the enclosure behind us now, we have a cliff sprinter and a rock hyrax. In this enclosure here, you can really see how they use the natural environment and implemented it into the enclosure. These animals like rock faces and do a lot of rock climbing. So pretty much most of the enclosure is rock like this. They got some grass and a little field over there. And they also have these misters, which is killing us because I think it's 9:15 in the morning. It's already 93 degrees. And with this, it's boosting the humidity, and it's kind of torture standing here. So we're gonna scoot on out of here. Hopefully it gets a bit drier. I can deal with the dry heat, not a wet heat. Behind us now, we have the chimpanzee enclosure, which is another enclosure that I'm really liking here. They got all of these plants in here, so it kind of feels like the jungle where they're from. And a waterfall back there and a stream on the other side of the enclosure. So again, continuing with the theme of having really nice water features and waterfalls, which again, I really enjoy. Kind of adds the whole other element to the enclosure. And we got 3 chimpanzees up there. It's kind of difficult for me to look because I got the sun in my face, but this is another enclosure I really enjoy. And you can definitely tell all the different enrichment and all the climbing opportunities that these chimpanzees have. We're coming up here on the western lowland gorilla enclosure, and I can already tell that I'm a big fan of this enclosure. So similar to the chimpanzee enclosure, it has lots of vegetation in it, the elevation change. However, I'm not seeing a stream or some sort of waterfall. I can hear one, I just can't see where it is. Only gorilla I know where it is down there. We saw it on the walk up, but due to the inside areas being closed off, we couldn't really get there and we couldn't film it, which is unfortunate, but that's just how it is right now. But another beautiful enclosure with tons of enrichment for these animals. So let's move on. We went around the side of the building where we weren't allowed to go inside onto a little another balcony, and we saw this little group of 4 western lowland gorillas. We have 2 babies. We got one up on the wall there, and the one sitting on top of the wall. And then we have 2, I'm going to assume to be mothers caring for the young. And I didn't think I was going to get a clear look of the gorillas, but here we are, and you get to see these little babies play around. We didn't get that on camera because I was filming that for my mom, but because she loves baby gorillas. Anyway, let's move on to the next enclosure. These elephants here are found in the Giants of the Savannah exhibit here at the Dallas Zoo. The African elephant is the largest of all land animals, with them weighing approximately 6 tons, with obviously some males or females being larger than that. African elephants are listed as vulnerable by the IUCN, with an estimated 415,000 elephants left in the wild, which is tragic to hear. But with conservation efforts, we are helping these elephants out in the wild. Next up, past the elephants, we have the giraffes. I'm not exactly sure which subspecies of giraffe it is, but here we got a baby one, which is really all that matters. This is the one that got my attention. Baby giraffes are probably one of the cuter baby mammals in my opinion, because they come out like 6 feet tall already. So it's crazy how big they are, but also how tiny they look compared to other giraffes. I just think that's pretty neat. So let's keep moving. Here we have bearded emperor tamarins, and I love the mustaches that these guys seem to have. It's actually the inspiration for a little mustache going myself, except for I'm not doing as well as they are, but well, eventually I'll get there, maybe. Over here we have some white-faced Saki monkeys. I'm not sure exactly where these guys are hiding out. Oh, there's one right there. So these guys are super cool, and luckily for them, they get a shade and a little bit of a breeze as we walk through the zoos and sweat to death. So I think the heat index is around like 96, 97, and it's kind of starting to suck. But we're gonna keep on going, hopefully find a mister or something, cool off a little bit. Unfortunately, my hopefully favorite part of the zoo, the herbarium, is closed due to the virus and in close proximity to each other. But that's okay, because we still have at least this one enclosure outside where we have iguanas and a painted turtle, from what I've noticed. And this enclosure caught my attention from down the hill because of all the cactus and all the rock outcroppings that I noticed as I walked closer. And just how awesome and elaborate this enclosure is, and how it really suits all these animals' needs. There's all the rock outcroppings with the rock iguanas. It gives them plenty of space to climb and hide, and they're really have no need to climb this wall here to escape, because they have so many hiding places and places to go in there that it just really suits all their needs. They have a nice little pond down here where a painted turtle's been sitting, and we have a damselfly that's been flying around, which is this bright like reddish orange. I just think it's a super cool enclosure. I really like what they did with the space here. Behind me here we have a small group of Galapagos tortoises. What's really neat to me for this enclosure is that it has a little path that goes underneath our path, and they can go on both sides here for the little shelter over there, which I assume that they put them all into for like bad weather, things like that. And it also goes all the way up there where that one larger Galapagos is hanging out over there. And also, a cool little thing for enrichment for the kiddos. They have a little tortoise encounter where you can feed the tortoises as well. So that's another way to get little kids involved with the tortoises. There was a giant anteater up there as well, but they aren't out because it's so stinking hot out here. It's kind of hiding out. You can see a little bit of his tail in the door, but I don't think we can get it on the camera. But let's move on with all the train noise in the background. Right around the corner from the tortoises is this little, I say little, but it's quite impressive, the outside aviary for different species of birds of prey. Right here we have the king vulture, one of the weirdest looking vultures in my opinion. We have 2 Andean condors in this giant enclosure here, which gives them plenty of space to fly around. And one thing I did notice about each enclosure is that they all have water features to kind of go along with what I was saying earlier, which, one more time, is something I really like to see. Over here we have an African fish eagle, which is right in the way of the tree. Let's maybe get a clip around it. I don't see a whole lot of those species of eagles, so I really enjoy seeing them because they're just the cool species of bird. But another species, which is one of my favorite eagles, is the harpy eagle over here. The harpy eagle is, I'm not 100%, but it's definitely one of the largest species of eagles, if not the largest. And these guys will actually eat monkeys in their native range, which I think is super cool. So let's keep on walking. In between clips, I did Google it, and the Steller sea eagle is actually the largest, but the harpy eagle is still an impressive bird nonetheless. But these guys here are another really cool species of bird. These guys are mostly snake eaters, and what they do is they'll grab a snake and throw it down on the ground repeatedly until it eventually dies. So these guys require a lot of enrichment that require the same throwing motion that they would use in the wild. And that bird up there was just messing around with a stick in a similar fashion, which I think is super fascinating. Let's keep on moving. This will conclude our little zoo tour of the Dallas Zoo. Again, this is my dad and I's first time at this zoo, and we really enjoyed our time here. All the enclosures were really nice. There was clear use of enrichment for all the animals, and the use of water features, plants, and other things like that to liven up the enclosures were really nice, and we really enjoyed all the enclosures and how the animals interacted with their environments, despite it being so hot out here that we're just not used to, and a lot of the animals were out hiding from the heat, but that's kind of what you have to expect when you go to a zoo. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. Don't forget to leave a big thumbs up down below, subscribe to my channel, and as always, I'll see you next week.